Players Pick podcast, picks and perspective with Chris Johnson. Palpable. Paradox. Polarity. PG. Paranoia. People pleaser. Peaceful. Powerful. Pizzazz. Personal.
Number 126 of the Players Pick podcast, and it's episode 4 of the reboot. And it's only been in the last couple of years that you and I have been in touch and that we've been working together. And I'm super stoked to have you on because I know that you've had some new shows. Danza's back, and
Yeah.
it's exciting to know where you guys are at and if we get to hear new stuff. And like, what are you doing?
Man. So right now working on new material. I mean, it's kind of been a challenge because Josh is in basically St. Louis, Collinsville, outskirts of Collinsville, Illinois, but collaborating remotely, that really was in the past. That's not really like our thing, like everything's done in a room, not really on a DAW. So it's kind of been a challenge to connect all the dots. But last night, I mean, what? So like midnight last night working on new material with Josh, me and him collaborating back and forth through Zoom, sending projects back and forth through Cubase with DIs and whatnot, my patches, his patches, and then it's pretty cool. It's way different. But like we'll take a riff. I mean, we had like this techie tap riff that's in this new song. And we started off and it's a pretty complicated riff. And then we're like, look, maybe we need to dial it down a little bit so it could be cleaner, for everybody to play. So we started off down that path, and then it was just tapping when I sent it to him. Now it's hammer-on tapping and sweeps. Like it went completely out the window, but it was so sick. We were just like, we have to do it. It's like, no, we just have to train ourselves to do it as a band. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And it's been a pleasure working with you. Also, man, it's been awesome working with you, and you guys are the best people. I mean, I'm not the only one that says it. I hear it throughout the community, but you guys have been awesome.
Thanks so much, man. Yeah, Kiesel is so stoked to be a part of the reimagining of the Danza camp and be the tools that are in your hands, predominantly, and that's cool shit.
I mean, you guys by far enabled us more so. I mean, we've had a lot of help, thankful for that, because when we toured before, like tech and, the kind of music we play, it wasn't a thing, It was like, if you could ride the top string and play a breakdown, then the more complicated and the more work you put into your craft, the less money you made, That's what it seems like. So now it's way different, and we're thankful. But yeah, Kiesel and you guys have helped us so much. We wouldn't have been able to do the show. We wouldn't been able to do just because the investment, you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, very thankful. We're all very thankful.
That's great, man. Thanks for the kind words, and we can't wait to see more as it's available. You're talking about writing this new music with Josh and that interface going over. You said over Zoom, basically, and you guys can hear each other basically as you're jamming out.
Yep.
I mean, what do you think is there something lost here with not being in the same room a little bit because you don't have everybody kind of hanging out and doing the same things as you used to? Or is there some aspect that is just makes it greater than ultimately because of the concentration of focus here? Or can you speak more to that?
Man, is there something lost? Yeah, there's something like natural energy, you know what I mean? Like Pantera, like Far Beyond Driven, that was in a room. You know what I mean?
Right. It's fucking
Like
right.
that wasn't a doll. That was in a room, that was sweat. That was, and that's something to be said about that. And we're trying, and some of this was written in a room, like we're trying to keep a little bit of that energy and then mix it with today's technology. So I say, I say all that to say, like with technology advancing and everything musically, I think it's definitely a pro because the speed isn't there though. When I say speed, as far as like, if me and you were in a room and you wrote a riff and I'd be like, "Man, it'd be really cool if you added this chord
Mm.
here." Whereas now it's like me and Josh are doing that, but instead it's like, man, it'd be pretty dope if we added a chord here. All right, let me track the riff at that BPM with that chord. I'll send it to you via Dropbox. You upload it, and now let's see how that sounds. Wait,
Mm.
no, that's cool with that chord, but man, it'd be great if we did triplets 7 times in a row, then did a tap. All right, let me retrack that. Where like in the room, it was just like,
Yeah.
you just hit it and it just all jives and you finish the song, you go on to the next part, the bridge, and close it out. But as far as like listening back, like where you can, loop this section and say, man, let's, let's make the China a dotted six, which that's something that we love. We call it the lasso because it's
Mm.
like the China's doing this. Like we call it the lasso beat.
Yes.
So it's like little like creativity, as far as like adding this here and there. That's something you don't get with the energy in a storage room with no AC or heat.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that I miss about music myself is being in a room with people and there being a different kind of pressure on us. And it's not like I don't wish for that pressure to be back in my life. Don't get me wrong, right? I don't want the poverty of my youth. I don't necessarily want, like there's a lot of this stuff that we look back and kind of romanticize. I don't necessarily ask for those things back, but when there was no other choice than to everybody chip in on a room, everybody get gas money. Yeah, got to pick up him. And so you get off work at this time. Okay, so then practices is at this time. If we're not utilizing our practice space, then what the fuck are we doing, man? Like we'd have these conversations, like even amongst bros that were stoked to be doing the same thing. It's like to get everybody in alignment, to everybody to show up. And if not everybody showed up, it was kind of like, God damn it, like
Yeah.
you want
Yeah.
everybody to be on the same page. And it's like, I don't wish for the struggle in that way, but I do see how, some of those places didn't have air conditioning in the middle of summer and it sucked.
Yeah.
We jammed in a shed with my brother and I's old band, Hell of All Saints. It gets hot here in Chico, like 110, and we jammed in the drummer's old shed in the backyard. That was the only place we had that would let us be loud. And it was just like a sauna, dude. Like we could get through our set maybe twice and before we wanted to die, But
Those are the times though, man. Like that's those were the good times. Yeah, I mean, same thing here. Like growing up, small town, no skateboarding allowed. You either
do
good
that.
get either yeah, you're old good boy. You're either part of the good old boy network, or you're on the outside of it. So we
Mm.
would find wherever we could to jam. Police would like, we were all underage. They would come in, like read us our They didn't, no, they didn't read us our rights. They would just bring us to
Mm.
so it was like I was a part of it. No, but I wouldn't give those days back for nothing. I mean, yeah, it was tough. It was tough, but you paid your dues.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think that's important to do from time to time. Like the rest of the guys that are here, we have a practice space. We go to the room and we jam and we collaborate. So that's how we were trying to keep that still going. But yeah, we're all older.
Right.
So it's like you're cold or you're hot or just a little bit of a Goldilocks thing, going on with us in the room. Be like, yeah, oh man, we're gonna need to get there pretty early because it's gonna get cold. It's like back when we were younger, we'd be like, who care? I
Yeah.
will freeze to write this riff with you.
Well, and there it is, man. That's like there's bound to be a difference. And it's not necessarily good or bad. That's subjective, but like there's bound to be a difference, in our young years, Matt. It was like us too. We were just like, I don't even care. I need to get on stage with you guys. I need to fucking destroy. I need to like kind of lose myself to this for the set list. Like, I mean, it was everybody in the band felt cathartic about it, you know, and it was like, and we were all at different places with our discipline, so we had
Right.
not showed up in our live performance at different times. Like, okay, you need to knock that off. I need to do more of this, you know, and like try to like
Right.
rein it in a little bit so that we can all kind of get the yah-yahs off, and that, you know, I think it was strangely helpful to have a shitty job too back then, because you wanted it more. You're like, I hate going to this stupid job. Somebody sign us and let us like just tour indefinitely. Like that was like in our
Right.
early 20s. We didn't know really, you know, what else to wish for. But yeah,
Same
but so
thing.
and now you're older. Now you're like, you got family, you got, you know, all the things going on. You got a different kind of schedule. You're like, man, I gotta be in bed kind of like at a certain hour. Otherwise I don't operate, you know. It's a different thing.
No, man, I tried to do that. I mean, with some of this, you know, writing, collaborating, trying to go to like 1:30 in the morning and then wake up at 6 and bring my daughter to school and then try to function. It's just, it doesn't work, man. Like,
Yeah.
and then, and then your mindset is, you know, you're not rested. So your mindsets are relatively probably pretty negative, you know, and then you listen back to whatever you did and you're like,
Mm,
I hate that. But then you listen to it rested and you're like, man, that's pretty good. You know, like you have a different outlook on it. Yeah, can't do that anymore. That
mm.
doesn't work for me. Too
Do
old.
you, are you pissed off about different things now, or is it some of the same things? Is that like when you first started and you were fucking pissed off?
Yeah, when I first started, um, early on in Danza, basically it was all about making fun of where we grew up, you know, and the people and the mindset of where we grew up. And I mean, I had a whole concept. I didn't realize it. I just did it to be funny, but I didn't realize I made a concept album about like killing pretty much everybody I came from. So
Mm,
Danza 2 was about this guy goes into a dive bar and everybody keeps making fun of him. And at the end, he just goes out to Struck, gets a chainsaw, and that's it. Takes out the whole place. And now I look back on it, I'm like, man, I was doing it, you know, like having fun, but inside I was like very angry, you know.
yeah.
But we went through a lot back then, homeless and everything you can imagine. Everything. There was a venue called the Muse in Nashville, which is like known to be one of the most grimy, hardcore venues in
Mm,
Nashville. I lived there, you know, and I had some friends. I was like, man, I live there, and they're like, man, me too. I went to every show. It's like, man, I lived there. Like I was upstairs. It was brutal. But
really?
now am I mad about things? I mean, not really. Like I'm not mad, you know? Like I'm I have I don't want to do the load reload thing. You know, that's one of I mean not anything against Metallica, you
No,
know?
no, but
Like those
I
are
know instantly what you mean.
you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, it's like Injustice for All, like sweaty and everything. And then now you like load reload. Now we have Versace suits and you know,
Mm,
it's its own
mm-hmm.
thing. But it's like I always tell the rest of the band, I was like, we have to keep ourselves accountable. You know, it's like because we all are older, you know, we have families, we have a lot to be thankful for, and but you still need to maintain that grit. That's a hard thing to do. So you have to keep each other accountable.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the question comes from, is like, how do you, because the music that you write is can be so chaotic and pissed off that it's like at least sounding, it's like, where does it come from now? I mean, it's probably, you know, like you said, it's kind of obvious. Like I was homeless, I had a lot of grimy things to go through back then.
Hmm.
You know, we were practicing in hot rooms and stuff, you know, and it's like now it's kind of air conditioned, controlled, and upload and send, you know, and get the kids to school on time. So where is it political? Is it personal suffering? Is it just kind of like, you know, mix? I don't know.
For me, I have to, no, I'll channel things with the subject. I'll channel things. Hold on 1 second. I think a guitar just arrived. Give me 1 second.
That would be amazing, bro. We about to do an unboxing right now
We're
on
about
your
to do an unboxing right
Let
now.
turn your fucking camera back on, dude. Let's do this. I'm so hyped.
Yep. Hold on.
We did not plan this. at all.
No, but it worked. I could see the time when it was gonna arrive, and I was like, man, if this comes when
This is so funny. I love it.
dude, it is.
Dude, I seen the pictures, but like I know you have too, but it's like the real deal. How does it feel?
Yeah. No, I've been stoked on this one. This one actually has some sentimental. Oh, dude, what? Look at this guy.
Check this out, guys. White and gold Kyber with roasted flame maple and oh, yes, that neck looks so sick with the roasted piece down the center.
Man, it feels so good too. It is so classy.
Yes.
It's so classy.
I agree, dude. Man, that is a hot vibe, dude.
Yeah,
Are
I
are
dig
they
it.
white rings? I can't remember. White ring inlays, is that what we did?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, I can see them better now. Sick.
Yeah, my camera's not the best, but yeah, and it's got the pearl.
Tuners, yes. Man,
So
dude.
sick, dude.
7-string,
So,
yes. That's what we did.
yep, 7 string Kyber. So when we were touring, the Black Machine was like the most sought after
Yes.
guitar. I mean, heck, that guitar was $10,000 in 2006. The only guy we actually brought Periphery on their first tour, and Misha, he had like 3 of these guitars on their first tour. It's like, Misha, what's what's going on,
That's
man?
wild.
You know. But that was the only guy I knew who had a Black Machine, and I was like, man, that's like the dopest guitar. I mean, it's just it was the guitar, you know. So like when you
Yeah.
guys came out with the Kyber, I was like, I know where that's coming from, the influence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We had to do I mean, Jeff, I really it's interesting how some of the designs come about with him too, and like and it's been an interesting learning process over the last couple years of releasing guitars with Jeff and artists and kind of seeing what works and what doesn't work as well. But like the A2 the year before was like a really cool imagining of the Aries and had it adding extra bevels and comfort and stuff to it. And people were like, that's cool, right on. And then the following year we did the pocket, like the neck pocket, the neck heel, the beginning of this year essentially. And everybody's like, "Cool, like, we definitely like that better," but, like, a lot of, other guitar companies have done such things too, to their heel and stuff, and that's cool. But so it wasn't like we released things we thought were really cool, and it was like people were like, "Yeah, cool." And Jeff is like, "Man, why I wanna knock something out of the park," like, "Why I want somebody to go, 'Oh my god,' like, 'Yes, this is what we need more of this,'" 'Cause the Aries itself had sold pretty well, been our top seller essentially, and then the A2 came in and, outsold it for a bit, but then it kinda leveled out a little bit, and we're like, "Okay, cool." And then started talking about a new original model, and he's like, I gotta come up with something that the metal community is really, like, feels like it's fresh for us at least anyway, and, like, give some people a reason to dive in a more serious way, and he sent the first couple prototype ideas, and I was like, "Dude, yes, yes." And then he's like, "I'm thinking about just chopping doing the headstock that, like." I'm like, "Please do that, please do that." And he's like and everybody agreed, everybody on the team's like, "Yeah, you gotta do that." And he's like, "Okay, okay." And he refined everything and refined the body shape and hit it out of the park, I think, man. It's a real lightweight, it's a banger. It's like a slightly original body design and just a, Kiesel take on the headstock thing, and, it's cool,
Man,
man.
normally I like a heavier guitar.
Do you really? That's your
Yeah, I
preference
like a little
overall?
bit of weight, but I mean, um, so when I picked up the Kyber at first, I was like, oh, I don't, because usually with a little bit of weight, you get a little bit more, I don't know, bottom end, but sounds amazing, plays amazing, love them, love the guitars. You can't say enough great things about them. Me personally, it's like it just when I saw that you guys, I saw everybody like having the release videos and unboxing and they're playing. I was like, that guitar just looks fast. It just looks
Mm,
fast. It just makes you just do a run or just and it is fast. The neck it's amazing. I don't know. I love them. Yep.
that's
I didn't know
that
the A2 was new. I didn't know it was newer than the Aries. I thought the Aries was like the guy, the newest, but I
no,
dig
yeah.
the Aries, man. The Aries, that's what I have the 2 8 strings or Aries
Alright.
and love them.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with them. They're incredible. But the A Aries was A1 essentially, and then A2 was, I mean, the Aries is years old basically, I think, close to. That might have been one of the first, it's like the second model that Jeff designed when he came in and kind of officially took over from his dad, and they started going more in the, with the family name of Kiesel. The Yeah, it's interesting. The A2, and I was always like, yeah, Aries is cool, but I liked the Crescent more, and so I had a couple of Crescents, but the A2 came out, and I was like, ooh, I'm super in it. That's somewhere in that, like, it feels almost nostalgic and futuristic to me at the same time, and so I have 3 is now that I really love. Can't wait for my
That's what
Kybers.
that's what you play on. You have that on Facebook. You'll go live and you have that. It's funny because like your pickup choices are like, yeah, like it's like that blue really pops with that. But you'll play some blues on that thing.
Dude, that's the
You'll be
weirdest thing.
cranking out some blues.
I totally would have never. Like, usually I pick up, yeah, you pick up something like this, and I stay on the bottom end, and I'm like, "Bow, bow," but, just trying to do something cool that Meshuggah would do, or, is, I don't know. I'm just like
Everybody, yeah,
a noodler, right? Yeah, like Devin says, everybody rips off Meshuggah, but, the, but when I
facts.
hold that guitar and with the trim, it's so strangely comfortable to play, like, kinda just noodle regular things that I would just noodle around on, and sometimes I don't even recognize that I'm playing an 8-string guitar, and I'm, like, wanting to jam with the R&B track, and I'm just, yeah, so it's a funny, I don't know if it's cool or not, but it's like a it's amazing that I feel kind of at home on that, because I never imagined all the other 8-string
Right,
guitars I've ever had have all been kinda like, "No, I just picked that up to fucking gent, and that's it, and then I put it down, and then I play a 6-string or
right.
something regular," but
Which
yeah.
is a huge compliment to Kiesel because normally you can't rub blues on an A string.
I mean,
That's
that's
not
how,
a thing.
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
but
that
if you can be
is
comfortable
cool.
enough to do that, which is funny because like I went to like this school of blues in Austin, Texas.
Really?
Yeah, and there was a band called Storyville. I don't know if you ever heard of them, but it was Double Trouble, Stevie Ray Vaughan's band. It was like their revived band out of Austin, and so their guitar player, the guy who the main guitar player of Storyville, like he was teaching the classes, so I got to learn a lot about slide, the Texas Shuffle, of course, all that jazz. So my whole family, like big interest and influence in blues, like
Mm.
that's if and I actually I that's what I play when I don't play metal, oddly enough, because like when you started posting those videos, I was like, oh, me and Chris are very similar. Yeah.
I love well, I like it's an interesting thing, and you might speak to this too, but, like, sometimes, so many times I talk to great artists like yourself that play a certain thing, but, like, when they ingest music or play music for themselves, it just kinda comes out in this totally different way, like,
Mm,
but when I write stuff and I wanna put effort into finishing something, I'm like, "I'm fucking pissed," and I'm aggressive and I'm doing
yeah.
something, but I'm just, like, hanging out and enjoying music. I'm like, "Oh," it's like, it's not like that, feels different to me, you know?
Right. You don't really want to destroy the guitar.
No, it's like, it's, well, and you can do almost anything with it, right? Whatever emotion that you're kinda feeling, you can kinda just touch the guitar in that way, and it's there for you, thankfully?
Oh, and honestly, that's been a huge thing with the revive of Danza, like where, because it gets to a certain point there for a little while where you're like, I mean, I have a bunch of guitars behind me, I was like looking at them and I was like, I'll keep the acoustic and I may sell everything else, like I was thinking of selling everything. And this came up just about the time right after I thought that. And then here we are. And now I find myself as like, man, I don't know how it went this long without, you know, doing that, like jamming or playing with anybody else, like
Mm,
it's been very therapeutic for everybody, not just me. Uh,
mostly?
Not drastically different. Like I did some blues stuff on my own a while back that was like, I can't really, more or less like John Lee Hooker
Mm,
type stuff. And like it sounds like it, and then the whole goal was for it to sound like it was recorded in the 60s, not to sound like it was, it definitely wasn't, guitar blues, if you will. It was more like soulful blues. But I had a project, I've had a lot of side projects over the years since Danza. I was in a project with the drummer for Candaria for a little while.
Ken
And we
Shaw,
were trying to, Kid Shock, yeah, we were trying to do the remote thing and
dude,
that wasn't working out. Yeah.
he's one of my favorite drummers of all
Amazing
time.
drummer.
All
Dude, I
time.
love Candaria.
Yes.
Amazing band.
Yes.
And it's weird how it came about because there was this, his name is Lexus. And for a while there, he was like this acoustic sensation on YouTube where he would take I know you've seen the guys where they do the acoustic thing and they'll take the tuning peg and they'll do the pitch thing with it. And
Yes.
he had a relationship with Ken and he was like, man, and he's from I want to say like the UK, and he hit me up and he was like, "Hey man, everything you say, everything you write sounds like war. I wanna do something with you." And I was like,
Mm.
"Okay, cool." He's like, "I got Ken Shock from Pandaria." I was like, "Okay, now we're talking." So we just started like collaborating a little bit there. It didn't go anywhere. We were in a project. Me, Josh Travis was on bass. Jesse Zaretti was on guitar, and we were Bob from A Life Once Lost was on vocals, and we were working on this during COVID. It was like this Doom project that was kind of like Cult of Luna.
I love Cult of Luna. That's cool.
So it was a little bit different. That we had a bunch of material we wrote there, like songs, never went anywhere. I was also in a project with the remote thing hasn't worked out too well for me. I was in a project with Chris Art from, are you familiar with the band Psyopus?
Yeah.
So me and Chris go way back. We used to tour a lot. Danza toured with Psyopus all the time. And Chris was in a band with Hank Williams III.
Cool.
He was in his project. And Hank was in Superjoint Ritual with Phil.
That's right. Yeah.
So I haven't, this is a cool story. I told it in a recent podcast, but what, 13? Yeah. I had been in Danza since 2010. And I get a call from Chris randomly. And he's like, "Hey dude, you wanna I say, man, what's up? Like what do you do?" And I'm working. And he's like, "Dude, do you want to do a project with me and Phil?" It's like Phil and Selma? And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Dude, don't call me with this stuff, man. Like I've got my own, I've got work, I've got a family and stuff. And like you're gonna call me out of the blue and tell me that? Like if you're playing a joke, this is really cruel."
Yeah. Don't
He's
do
like,
that,
"No, no,
bro.
no, 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 I'm telling you." He's like, he lives 20 minutes from you. And I was like, okay. He gave me his email address. He's like, write him an email. So I was like, I dropped him emails Friday, and I wake up Saturday with the email all in caps lock from this. It's a weird email address. So I was like, this checks out, man. Nope,
All
this
caps
checks
lock
out.
checks out, bro. I'm telling
It
you
checks
already.
out. Caps lock. I was like, this feels right. So I I'm just talking to this guy who's supposedly filling an email, and it was a Saturday, and I told my wife, I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to Folsom, Louisiana." I lived in Ponchatoula, Louisiana at the time. I'm gonna go to Folsom, Louisiana, and play with this guy, and we had just had a newborn baby, and she was like, "What? Who?" I was like, well, it's Phil Anselmo from Pantera," and she was like, "What time will you be back?" I was like, "I don't know. Like this is I don't know if I will come back. I don't know where I'm going." So I
Shit.
end up pull up this house in like a remote area, two-story house, and I go up and I look, and there's like a gargoyle holding a light bulb, and I was like, that checks out,
Checks
another
out.
hint. And open the door, and it's Phil. And we just sat
Damn.
there for a long. He's a super cool guy, down to earth, and just sat down and just listened to music that he was into. Like he was just like, man, I want to do this project, and he was really into Portal, which is like avant-garde black metal, eight string. So
Mm.
like you can kind of see where he was like at with like me and Chris Art, because it was like you take
Mm-hmm.
that, dirty it up a little bit, you know. So we just started jamming and collaborating, throwing ideas together. And the only time I would go play music with another human since I was in Danza would I would go to Phil's house, and it was the guys from Superjoint Ritual, and we would track the music. And it was funny
Wow.
because his sense of humor aligned with our sense of humor, which was
Uh-huh.
weird, you know. So it was really cool experience, and I still talk to him in email every now and then during Halloween. He calls me Biloxi for some reason. He's like, Biloxi, you got to come see my Halloween haunt, and I was like, oh man, maybe, but yeah, it was a cool experience. It just like if I would have had that experience at when I was at Danza, that's like it's what you want, you know what I mean? That's what like who
Mm,
doesn't want to do that? But then
right.
now you have a family and stuff. I was like, man, I can't. You got 4K, Phil?
Yeah,
You know, you got
exactly.
insurance. I mean, yeah, it was
Yeah,
it
does this
was
come with
awesome
vision
though. It's
and
cool to have
dental?
the
Because
relationship.
like I need a backup.
What's that?
I said, does this come with vision and dental? Otherwise,
Yeah,
like,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, what a cool
But
story,
yeah, I
man.
had so many projects, dude, over the years. But yeah, I'm sure always going to be doing something musically from here on out, you know. So
That's great, man. That's great. So you're Nashville area these days, though, right?
Chattanooga and the
Chattanooga,
rest of the guys are in Nashville. Yeah, a
cool,
lot of musicians here. So
big time.
New Orleans, I was pretty much that was the only dude to play with in New Orleans. You know, not many guys around there that do what we do.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, what a cool. I mean, and it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've had my run in with Pantera guys, and I it feels so legendary. I'm so thankful for the music that they wrote and the cathartic release of just that band alone, like, just inspired millions of us to go, "Oh, shit, like, I wanna have fun like that too," like,
Yeah,
that looks like a
was
lot
it
of
like the
fun.
Pantera 3 video?
Yeah. Yeah, both those
Yeah,
videos,
that was
yeah, crack me up.
yeah. There was a one moment where Phil was like, I was playing guitar and he had a few in him, and he was like, man, you're not as good as Dimebag. I was like, yeah, I don't think so. Like I mean like, I mean he's like a legend, you know? It's like I mean the fact that you're even we're in the same sentence though, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a funny philism that I could totally imagine happening, like, that I don't like, it's kinda razzing you a little bit, but, like, at the same time, like, he's using both your names in the same sentence. You're like, "Hey, bro, that's I would honestly always take second backseat, 10 back, like, there's no other dime bag." Like, he wrote the book on
Hmm.
a lot of stuff, like, bringing the elements in the way that he did. I mean, it just yeah, it's changed us, right? It's still a weird thing to even go back to listen to the music and be like, "Yeah, nobody's done this or anything close," like, that's cool. Because you can sound like them, you can study it and kinda do things like it, but it was the pure, like, unadulterated, like, combination of those people getting in a room over and over again, right, and sweating it out. So,
And Dime and Vinny were brothers. So they had like, man, decades of how tight. I mean, like they could probably look at each other and be like, I know what
yeah.
you're gonna do. And like boom, they could probably do improv, no problem, and just hit it, you know.
Yes.
So they were just like naturally tight. But and it's also like that's a very important, point here. It's like all the influences in that band, you know what I mean? Like the influences of that band, you had some hair metal, and then you had Phil coming from like this New Orleans sludge thing, and then hardcore and like the Black Flag and all that was all infused into one band. And you made this all influenced by something else, you know?
Mhm.
Everybody was influenced by something else that led them here, but you put everything in the bowl and you cook it up, and now you got Pantera. That's essentially kind of how this came to be. It's like we all had different influences, and everybody kind of came from a different era. The old guitar player who passed away, rest his soul, he had the old thrash influences. Like he would show up to the show in a Creator shirt, or a Crocus shirt, like that's what he was into. And then I had the, kind of the newer stuff, the Fear Factory, Meshuggah and Candaria, Burnt by the Sun. So like then we take all those together and you make something. Then you make something, somewhat original. Yeah, we definitely influenced by who isn't influenced by a series of bands, but when you bring it all together, you can make something unique. And I'm thankful for that,
Yes.
be able to do that.
Definitely, yeah, Burnt by the Sun, that's a good one that you mentioned, dude. Oh, shit. I had the pleasure of opening up for them at the Studio 7 and a billion years ago, it feels like. Seeing them live, I was like, I don't know. I only saw them live that one time, and they were just on. It was killer. Well, hey, man, I think what I should ask you is, and what I like to ask all my guests, part of this little podcast that I started a few years back, is that, it's very few people ask about guitar picks, and I just wanted to ask you, like, what do you remember about your first couple of guitar picks and or, the early days of learning guitar? And was there anybody that influenced you? And was there anybody along the way that, that was like, bro, you're playing the wrong thing here. You need to play this, and they like changed your mind, changed your approach?
Oh man. So guitar picks are very important. I don't think there's not a big focus on it. Nobody ever talks about what guitar pick are you playing. It's always like what head, what guitar. But the guitar pick is the human interaction with the guitar. So it started out, my uncle taught me how to play guitar and Black Sabbath and Corrosion and Conformity. That was my first. I learned An Albatross and Symptom of the Universe. Those were my
Sick.
first songs I ever learned on guitar. And then Crazy Train, But he had, and my amp was like this old head of an amp, like screwed to a 2x4. It sounded like challenged mosquitoes, man. It was rough. But he had this big purple pick, and it was like this jewel. It was almost like a jewel, and I was playing with that, and it was weird. I don't know, but I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And then throughout this, experience, you play with thinner picks. That never was a thing for me. I couldn't really do super thin picks, like where you could feel it bend as you hit the strings. That never worked for me. Uh, so then I always Jim Dunlop. That was like the pick, And picks weren't really an emphasis for me early on. I didn't really know how important it was until I went to where it really changed. I went to Machine Head. The More Things Change. That was dating myself here.
That's
but
cool, man.
he was playing an 88 millimeter Dunlop, and he had sliced the grip lines in the and he threw that out, and I picked it up and was like, oh man. And I started playing with that for a little while, and I was like, oh dude, this is different. Like that attack, I was like, okay, this is what I'm looking for, because they were like super heavy. It was like one of the heaviest concerts. They opened for Corrosion and Conformity, which was influence of mine. Like I was like always going to see Corrosion. They played with Metallica, and that was like one of my first big concerts was Corrosion and Metallica in Lafayette, Louisiana. But anyway, I digress. The 88 millimeter Tortex Dunlop, and that was my pick for a long time. And then I started listening to, so everybody chases tone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I was a big Fear Factory to Manufacture Obsolete guy. I love those albums. So then I had the amp, I had, the pickups, everything, but I was like, dude, the attack is just not there. Like, what's up with that? Like, why isn't the attack the same? So then I did some research, and Dino was playing the 88 millimeter Dunlop pick, but it was the sharp edge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The super sharp, the Dunlop sharp.
Yes, the super sharp. Man, like it was sharp. And so I grabbed one of those. I was like, oh, there it is. That's the attack. So then I was like, 88, but I have to have something sharp. And I've been playing those for a long time. But then you sent me, with the Kiesel guitar, you sent me those Kiesel picks. And I didn't know where those came from, but I was like, dude, these picks feel phenomenal playing with them. And I was like, what are these? And you're like, that's the Flow 88. So that's my pick now.
Dude, this is
Flow
the shit.
88. Dude, flow, it's just like, because when I'm playing, and I went to a Jazz 3 phase.
Sure.
I mean, and Dava control picks. I don't know if you ever heard those.
Those
I
were
was
cool,
endorsed
too.
I was endorsed by them for back in the day because they were had a little bit of give to them, but it was also had that little thin area in the middle to kind of give you some play. But I went through Jazz 3s mainly for pinch harmonics, because Jazz 3 you can choke up on it real easy and get that pinch harmonic. But the flow, it just feels so much it's so much easier. You know what I mean? I don't know, like, and there's still a bigger pick. Like, honestly, in the ideal world, like the Jazz 3 and the flow, like the size of the Jazz 3 with the feel of the flow, like that is the best pick probably ever made.
I love that you say that because I mean, I think that we'll release something like that at some point because when I was at Jim Dunlop, Flow was one of the projects I got to be a part of with Andy James and John Petrucci. And funny enough that I had a whole trip. I went to Seattle and hung out with Jeff Loomis, right? He is a sharp guy, Tortex sharp for years, 1.5, super thick, likes the same precision and, at the edge of that. And I put some flows. I was in his basement studio and I was like, here, I know that you're addicted to this and we can make whatever you want around that. Also, this is the new shit. And he was just like, shit, like this is almost too fast. I mean, I'll have to adjust. And he and he totally went through it. And he's like, oh man, I don't know. Now this is confusing because maybe I do want this. I don't know. And then like a couple weeks went by, I got home and he was like, no, man, I still like the sound and the feel of the sharp pick. And I was like, okay. So we designed his signature pick was instead of it being a stamped Tortex like thing, it was a molded.
I've got it right here.
You got it? You got one of those? Okay. And we put a grip on it.
I went through that whole phase. This guy right here. Yeah.
Yes. And it's got the JL. I can't see it, but yeah.
I mean, I could build a house on this thing now.
Right? Yeah, you could. Well, that was the whole thing. He was like, I love that thing and that shape, the geometry, everything, but it kind of wears down kind of fast. I have to pick up another pick a little more often than I would like. So I'm like, well, let's try to mold the same shape, which is kind of difficult because you're trying to mold something that has this sharper edge essentially versus like usually when you mold a pick and you build a mold for it, you're like trying to smooth everything out and make it more efficient. We were kind of mirroring, trying to emulate the stamped out of a sheet type of feel, and then you kind of tumble it from there. And he's had that for a while, but like last time I seen him, I think it was at NAMM this last year. I ran into Jeff, and I was on the NAMM show floor, and we were catching up. And he's like, guess what? I'm like, what? He's like, I think I'm back on flow, and I'm like, what? Really? Like, which is cool because it's one of those things that I'm sure they probably made some sort of tweak to it. One of the long-standing things, and it was a kind of a conversation with Petrucci at one point, was to make a Flow Mini or a Flow Micro that would be the Jazz 3 size Flow. And they may have done it in some other way. I know that they just released, there's a nylon Flow out right now, so like different material. I think that was
I have one of those, dude. I went through this. I go through this like.
You messed around with the nylons already?
Yeah,
sick. Yeah.
I like them. Actually, that's what I played Farness Fest with, was a nylon flow pick millimeter. I mean, I like them. I mean, the feel of those picks though, like is different. It's way different. And I kind of go between the Jazz 3 Max Grip and the Flow. Like I can't, because I like the Jazz 3 because it's easy to do pinch harmonics because you can choke up. But you can't, I mean, like you can with a Flow pick. It's like it's easier to play. It's way easier to play with the Flow pick. And so it's almost pretty much, I was thinking actually yesterday, I think I came to terms with, I was like, man, I'm just going to have to alter kind of how I do things to make sure I can hit these pinch harmonics with the Flow pick, because the trade-off of playing with a Jazz 3 without the Flow, pinch harmonics is maybe, 15% of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of it is all about playing in the feel. So if the feel feels that great and you're comfortable while you're playing live and you can hit these notes and do these runs easily, the flow wins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I went through after that, noticing the edge of that pick changed the whole attack and the sound of everything. After I noticed that, I went on this whole pick like search. And like if I see a new pick or something, I'll try it out just to see what the feel is. But yeah, like Jeff Loomis, he's right. Like the edge will wear off on those, but it's still like it's worth it. It's like, okay, buy an extra pack, spend $25, get 74 of those things, and then just have a pile of them on there and just like, that's what I was doing. I'll just grab one, throw it, grab another one, so I'll still have that attack, But I will also set up everything. I have something weird that I do. I'm kind of giving away my tricks here, but I'll, for pick scrapes, and I've tried to get guys to want to do this with me, but nobody ever wants to. So I just do this, where I will take like a box cutter and I will notch the side of that pick to where when I grab a pick scrape, like it just slides through. Because back in the day, like with Dimebag was a huge influence for that,
Yes, I
what
love
you got
that.
there.
I was gonna say, I'm trying to see it here. Devin Townsend did this pick. I'm trying to remember the name of this company, but he did
attack picks.
Yeah, so he did. So just there's an arrow on this one side,
Yep.
and it's slightly serrated on this tip, and it's like he loves it because it creates that old Tortex, and you can do scrapes. It's mimicking like a pick that you kind of have been already doing scrapes on, so that it's like uneven on that one tip, but then you can flip it back and like be more elegant with it and not have to do that.
That's
And
awesome.
I thought that was a smart. That's one of the cooler, smarter things that I've seen in a very, very usable pick.
That company, their picks feel really good. We'll say that their picks feel, but their edge wears down. The tip wears down pretty quick on them, but
Yes.
the sound of them, it really feels great when you first get a brand new pack of those attack picks. But yeah, what I'll do is I'll notch the side of that thing, and do the old machine head trick, put the box cutter lines in there for some grip, and then that's my setup. So
You'll notch for a grip and notch the edge too for pick scrapes. So you have both. Wow.
So I'll put in a little bit of work, the whole Abraham Lincoln theory there, right? Sharpen your axe. So like I'll put in a little bit of work before I play a show, because what's worse than losing your pick or going to do a pick scrape and it just goes across the strings,
Yeah.
Like so if I do it on both sides, I have grip, it just seems to work out better. But yeah, the flows with the notches on the side and the
So you'll put notches on the flow picks too, huh?
Yeah.
That's cool. So that's Flow Tortex.
Flow Tortex 88 millimeter. They just feel so good. And the nylons are cool, but there's something about that green 88 millimeter flow. There's something different about it. It sounds better for some reason. Maybe it's mental. Feels better. It seems like you can, because it has a little bit of give, it's easier to do pinch harmonics.
Mm-hmm.
It's the pick, man.
Man, I love that. I love that you are a pick nerd and that you're on the quest, because not everybody has even, experimented with that many picks. I find that people they just gravitate to something where somebody gives it to them. They're like, and they get used to it and they kind of just never change. And it's not out of necessarily like looking for something. It's just out of like, that's what I learned with, and I don't want to mess up the mojo at all. Like I remember talking to Tom Morello backstage at a Prophets of Rage show in LA back in like 2018 or 2019 or something, and I was like kind of pitching to him like, bro, you should come on my podcast, man. Come on, like,
Yeah.
He's like, oh, picks. Yeah, well, thing about me and picks is that I can only play those purple Jazz 3XL Tortexes. I can only play those. I can't play anything. I'm not a guitarist without that pick, basically, is what he was telling me. And I was like, and he goes, I'll tell you, like, for an example, one time I had to do this show and I was being a guest on somebody, I don't know who he was guesting with. and he's about to get on stage, and he's looking around, and he can't find a pick, and he's like, anybody got a purple, Jazz 3? He didn't have one, and like he told his assistant, he's like, go to my car, go out to the parking lot, go to my car, somewhere on the floor there's gonna be a purple Jazz 3 XL Tortex, get it, otherwise I'm not playing. And like she ran out
Oh,
there
that
and
important, huh?
yeah, it was that important. He was not going to pick up anything else, and I was like, wildly cool. Like I love the story, honestly. When
Yep.
it just kind of speaks to the semi-autistic, nerdy ADHD like thing that most of us are kind of going through. Very very few of us are as cool as like Marty Friedman. Like I use him as a good reference because
Man.
I've been around him a bunch, and I'm like, Marty, so tell me, like, give me your what guitar pick, and he's like, oh, I like the ones with my names on it. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, the ones you guys made for me, and I like the new one with the logo. And I'm like, yeah, you just give those ones away. He's like, no, I just, and he's like, it's kind of, it's kind of a medium. He almost like doesn't need to think about this because he's so fucking good. Right? Like that he picks up any guitar, any amp, he's one of those guys where the rest of the world's out here being particular and trying to figure out the compression. And he's like, yeah, buddy, you should just probably play your guitar a little bit more and not worry about such things. And I'm like, oh, wow, you're one of those guys. That blows my mind.
That was influence too. Euthanasia. That was a big album for me.
Still such a good album. I mean, Rust in Peace is like the thing that it's one of those albums that I remember like before I really played guitar, my brother listening to that and us going, what's the problem? Why is this so much cooler than like the newer Metallica? We were still into Metallica, but there was something about that album that just was beyond. Like it was the playing from Marty and all the elements there.
Oh man, it was different. That was a wake up call for me. Because you knew all the Metallica songs, and then the Master Puppets and all that. I knew all that on guitar, the solo one, and then I was like, oh, I got the Megadeth tab book. I was like, let me dive into the solo. It's like, oh, that's not Kirk Hammett.
Dude, Lucretia, Tornado of Souls, like that. And then, all the Marty Megadeth stuff is my favorite Megadeth stuff. I mean, I just that combo, even the Cryptic Writings stuff. Like I was in high school, coming out of high school when that with Euthanasia and Cryptic Writings as that stuff kind of dropped. And I was looking back, some people go, oh, that was like the softer, weaker. I'm like, it was really good songwriting. It was a strange combination. You didn't almost today. I can't imagine it being released today and it actually doing well either. That's a weird thing. Like I think it was the right thing at the right time for them, even though they got a bunch of shit for it, but like.
There's also something to say though about albums. Like, okay, so I'm pretty sure like if I had a conversation with a guy, he would be like, nah, man, like Rust in Peace is like, it's a good album, but Euthanasia is my album,
Sure.
That's the one that I got into Megadeth, and this like, it's like whatever you discover of that band, usually your favorite, right?
Truth.
And that's always going to be the case.
Yeah. There was a friend of mine's older brother, my buddy Scott. His older brother Joey had all the Iron Maiden posters all over his room and had he was the cool older brother that was into metal and like was basically dictating to us like what we should be watching or caring about. He's like, he's like the new Megadeth. I remember when Rust in Peace came out and he was like, it's hard to believe, but it's like so much better than Metallica, like in this way. And we were like, he was trying to describe to us and we we're like, okay, all right, we'll try to be cool like you. And then he showed us Hangar 18 and we're like, oh, aliens. Yes. Like everything about it was like so cool. We were in junior high. He was finishing up high school. And I remember him showing, it was 89 or whatever, I guess, that we 88, 89. And he was like, he showed us, the first like when Faith No More Epic came out, he was like, he recorded all these videos off of Headbangers Ball, and like was spoon feeding them to us. And we're like, wow, that is the future of music. Like seeing Mike Patton and all that. I was like, what?
Yeah, that was a turning point too. Discovering like Faith No More and like Naked City and all of those, avant-garde. That kind of opened my mind up quite a bit. I remember getting the first Phantomos album. You remember that?
Yeah.
And then the one with which is my favorite album by them, was the soundtrack where he basically did like The Godfather. What was it called? It's an amazing album.
The Phantomos?
Phantomos. Yeah, it was like
was it
the second
Discordia?
album they released
Or I think I know. Yeah, I haven't listened to the catalog in a while, but
a long time. Yeah,
I saw
but
them on that
they're a
first
huge
tour though, with the original lineup for the first thing. They came,
Phantomos.
yeah, Phantomos. They came through Seattle and played the Showbox Market, and it was Homeboy on drums. Why can't I think of his
Dave
name?
Lombardo.
Lombardo, yeah, and Lombardo came out and hung out and talked to us, and King Buzzo, man, it was so cool.
Did they do the whole improv thing where they just stopped and did the whole Frank Zappa thing where it's just like they just the whole show, which is awesome. I love that.
Yeah,
That they could feed off each other like that. That's so cool. Studio 7, that's in Seattle, right?
yeah.
Okay, I thought so. Yeah,
You
played
guys
there.
probably played there a few times, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I lived in Seattle for a decade, so I played the Graceland / what used to be called the off ramp, and then turned into El Corazon, right? And that's like a big one to still play down there, I think. And Showbox Market, Studio 7, those were the ones for the style of music for the most part.
No, we had a lot of fun times in Seattle with both El Corazon and Studio 7.
Yeah,
Good
God
shows.
rest his soul, man. Tracy, the owner of Studio 7, passed away a little while back, and all the Seattle, all of us that were local during that heyday, because we were there when that place opened, and he was this kind of rebel where he was like, I'm gonna have a cool stage with a cool bar, and then down the hallway a bunch of practice spaces for bands, and that was like, we were like, dude, are you our hero? Like, this is the coolest thing that's ever happened. And we saw so many good shows there, like Early Shadows Fall, Cryptopsy. I mean, he had all the best
Every
bands.
city needs a Tracy.
Road. They really do.
Every city needs a Tracy, because like, man, that's such a practice spaces. There's such a, I feel like that's a business waiting to happen, where there's just a guy who says, man, I'm going to build a building and have practice spaces in every like major city. That's not a thing, it's still
not.
storage rooms.
Yeah. And if you did it right, you would do it like what Tracy had kind of done. I think you'd have 10 or so, practice rooms, a couple of elite ones. I mean, you see it in LA, right? I mean, LA's got it figured out. New York's kind of got it figured out, because you got SIR and you got center staging, and but that's like bigger bands that can afford all the things, and they want a backline already set up when they move in there. I mean, but if you did something that was more, conservative and was more local band based, that could accommodate, touring bands that come in and fly in or whatever, I think you could still make a living doing that. I'm sure it's less than it ever was, though, because of the kind of online exchange that goes on so much.
But doing it with the venue like he did is a great idea.
Right. Because then you're encouraging, okay, when the band down the hallway has got their set together, get up there, buddy. Let's go. Like, and I love that kind of School of Rock mentality where you're like, I don't care.
Yeah,
Rip
that's
it,
such
dude.
a cool idea. It's a great business idea.
All right, man. Well, when we get done with this, I'll send you the slide deck, and I'll get you and your boys to invest.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what are you listening to these days? Like, I'm curious. Like, what has anything come out this year that you're like can't stop listening to? Is there any hot bands or any just weird things that you got turned on to that we should check out?
Man, so I'm pretty weird when it comes to music. Like I usually like what I like from back in the day. Like there's when we started playing Furnace Fest, like a lot of people, like the guys in Knocked Loose, like we don't even know what they look like, So like we finished playing and those guys came up and like, man, that was so sick. And me and the drummer Mason were like, man, thank you. Like, who are you? And they're like, oh, we're I'm the drummer and guitar player for Knocked Loose. I was like, oh man. So we're not really aware of, I'm trying to pull up my Spotify right now and I give you some ideas what I've been playing, but I'll listen to, I like Gojira a lot. I'll always kind of go back to them quite a bit, but I listen to a lot of crazy stuff. I like this band called El Michelle's Affair. You ever listen to them?
No, what's that?
It's all instrumental, but they'll do stuff. It's awesome. Like they did a couple of like their takes on Wu-Tang albums
What?
where it's all instrumental, but it's like groovy. Like they have one called Enter the 37th Chamber. Dude, love that band a lot. I find myself navigating to that band quite a bit. I say band, it's more like a group. Man, that's such a crazy. I listen to a lot of old school country too. I mean,
Nice.
that's his, Aphex Twin. I was listening to Aphex Twin this morning.
What's an old
So,
country
kinda
album
all
that you
over the
like
map.
that we should check out?
So I like this guy named Luke Bell. And he passed away like I think in like 2019 or so. He only put out one album. And the name of the album, I think it's just called Luke Bell. Came out in 2016. Very old school type of music. Coulter Wall, I like his stuff. Drive By Truckers. Yeah, man, I'm kind of all over the map. I listen to a lot of Otis Redding.
Man, can't go wrong
Dude,
there.
Otis Redding,
Love his
but
voice.
the Otis Redding that's like that not even like his. I have like this import CD that I bought forever ago. That's like a 2-disc thing, and I backed that up to Google Drive and I listened to that because there's a lot of tracks. I like his sad stuff. I like the somber Otis Redding, not the I've got 7 Cadillacs Otis Redding. Yeah. What about you? What are you?
Bro.
Radiohead. I like Radiohead a lot.
Oh, it's hard not to
Yeah.
go wrong with. It's hard to go wrong with Radiohead. I mean, they've got so much to celebrate. I'm still in that. I'm still blown away by Kid A. Like I'm still not over it. Like I remember when
Right.
Kid A came out, and it was early on in being in Seattle actually, and my buddy Don, who was my main collaborator, vocalist in Vishnu's Rest and stuff. I remember him and his girl at the time. Went by the music store and got a CD. We had our Walkman and whatever, and she started listening to it before us. You know what? We were walking around, we were talking and walking around the University District, and she's like, "Guys, this is insane." She was like, "The thing that's going on. This is." Oh, I can't. You guys. It was like we're like, okay, we'll listen to it when we get home. But like just her initial reaction and how she was like, this is nothing like anything they've done before, and I don't even know what to say. I don't know what I'm even hearing yet, And
Right.
I still like, I'll put that on, and I'm like, this is still the future. How is this so old and still the future? That's wild.
They think outside of the box, man. That's I mean, OK Computer is an amazing album too. I mean, like
Agreed.
That was a same reaction a lot of people had out of OK Computer because they had Paranoid Android and they're like, oh, man, this is kind of got that grunge thing. And then OK Computer came out and they're like, okay, like didn't see you going there,
Yeah.
Then the Kid A and they were like, now we're gonna go further down. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess what I think that was the thing. It's like with OK Computer, you thought, oh, the future's arrived, and then they're like, nah, we're just warming up. We've got all these other ideas. But this year has been pretty good for music. I mean, I'm a huge Deftones fan. I can't say enough about the last Deftones record. I put it on and I'm like, oh, how do these guys still got it so good after all these years?
Yeah.
I'm so proud. I'm so thankful.
I love Deftones.
Man,
Deftones is one of those bands that's just like, I mean, if you really think about it, but for me anyway, because Deftones came out and one album that didn't get enough hype with Deftones. I'm pretty sure Deftones is one of those bands that like they hate this album. Jeff probably doesn't hate this album, but everybody else in the band does. Is Adrenaline.
I love it. It's great.
It's so raw, but it was kind of like they came out in that Korn time.
Right.
But it was like they had this vibe about them that was kind of like Helmet.
Yes.
They kind of had this helmet thing going on. Do you know that there's a whole group of guys, whole bands from like LA that had like this helmet thing going on that was like the cool kids that they weren't very popular, but they had this sound, and Deftones definitely had it. And then they kind of like progressed. I feel like they left the new metal thing and kind of like honed in on the shoegaze helmet thing. You know what I mean?
And Helmet was, I mean, you hear one of Page's riffs and you're like, oh shit, dude. That's a whole era that
great.
like I miss I miss when, like, it was like Tool was a part of it a little bit too, right? It was like you had Tool, Helmet, and Deftones
Yeah.
that were
Oh,
all
yeah.
occupying a space that was heavy without triplets
Yep.
in the
Nope.
in the
It
way that
was
we,
just
without the
downstruck,
metal stuff, like, hold on one
down
second, my
picking.
dog is tripping. 1 second.
It's all good.
Okay, my puppy is still a puppy.
We're about to get a new dog, have like a little Shih Tzu Maltese mix. His
Oh
name
yeah,
is Ziggy. And
Ziggy.
he's my guy. Like, he's always with me, but he's 10 now. Yeah. Dogs. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, our family's about to get a new dog. So about to
I
go
got an
through
old
that.
dog and a new dog, so I hear you. I'm going through she's 12 now, and like, she's very skinny, has a protein loss like deficiency disease thing that so she can't like synthesize the protein anymore, and so she's just losing weight and a ton of skin allergies, and so she's getting weak and she's like very irritable and all stuff, but she is like the sweetest girl of all time and have been my best friend for so long that it's this weird exchange, this weird crossfade of having the puppy for the last couple of years, and it's a good thing ultimately because the puppy has really kept her playful and kept
Right.
her,
Yeah.
company
Keep
and all
going.
stuff. Yeah, but at this moment where she's where he's like they traded places. Like he's like about 57 pounds where she used to be at or about 54, and she's down to 50-ish now, and it's like, I don't look forward to losing my dog, so I'm trying to like
No.
be the sweetest, kindest, like lovingest human I can possibly be to this being that has been so kind to me.
Appreciate it. Like
Yeah.
that's one thing in age, is just appreciate the time that you're in. That's important. It's very important. So like, like when I'm driving my girl to school and I've got Ziggy, on my lap, it's 6 o'clock in the morning and we're just listening to some music and he's looking out the window. And I'm just like, man, this is a time that I'm gonna look back on and be like, man, that was awesome. So I try to appreciate the moments, because like when you're younger, you don't really do that. You know what I mean?
uh,
It's just go, 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 go. But now, I try to, like, everything that I go through, I try to appreciate it. So I'm thankful for that and getting older. Absolutely.
that's actually a really good point, man, and I to kind of makes me want to ask you about like, your general perspective on life. Sometimes some people have some devout, philosophical feeling about life, and that's what kind of gets them through. And were you raised in any type of religious or with any type of
Yeah.
philosophical, outlook? And how are you?
Yeah. I mean, everybody's, grew up Christian. I'm Christian. But I mean, I feel like everybody has, yeah, I mean, that's something. As I get older, it's hard to put in words, really, how that affects you over the years. Like, it's something that's instilled in you at a young age. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And then I pretty much did everything I can to go against the grain, to leave that part of my life. And yeah, I find myself navigating back to it. Yeah, I mean, I have so many friends, different religions, and we all, like, I'm not one of those guys that's just like, we can have a talk about anything, and I would like to see your perspective on things. But I feel like having, some kind of religious background and something to invest yourself into besides thinking you're in control of everything is important to me. I don't know. I don't know if that resonates with you, but that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I actually find great interest in all the religious things from around the world. I think, and it's been my almost like one of my side hobbies since I was little because of my stepdad. My mom was taking me to church all the time and just like, this is the story, this is the story, and I'm like, okay, Sunday school, and and it's kind of beat into me a little bit, and scared me. That part looking back
Yeah.
is the part that I easily kind of rail against through my common sense, and my wanting to be kind to myself and others, and looking at how this affected me as a child. But my stepdad, along the way had very rightfully said, great, like learn all you can about the Christian thing, and just know that that's like one of the stories. But if you look around, and you kind of seek out the other things, just be interested in like what are the other stories? What are the other people, and then is there any commonality? And is there just be curious about that and don't close those stories off too quickly until you've kind of had a little bit of compare and contrast around it. And that has sat with me. And that was young when he kind of said that. So, I mean, I really revere the mythology and the way that the Bible in certain ways can tell the truth through fiction. What feels like fiction to me, like the mythology. I take it as a really interesting mythology and a really interesting, thing that man has done to try to tell this story and then you look at it how it came to be. And I've studied the power dynamic of that, and how the Romans kind of instituted these things, and the people that were writing that stuff weren't writing that stuff to be a part of a Bible initially. That came much much later, and when I started piecing that together, I'm like, oh, it's easy for me to kind of at least a little bit kind of segregate this into like it's one of the attempts is the most popular attempt maybe at dedicating oneself to something out that seems greater than and trying to like not take on the full load in a way, and mostly in a positive way. I think the intention is there's all this kind of fallout from religion that is sad.
Oh yeah,
It's
I
really
mean,
sad.
it's tons, and that doesn't. I hate that side of real. I mean, religion. I have a lot of pain, as most people do, from religion, and that's not what I. I was raised. I was raised by my grandfather, who was military and a
Mm,
pastor. I grew up in that, but I mean, not it wasn't bad though, but there was things that happened, and growing up in a pastor's house, you see kind of people's lives and things that happen, and your Sunday school teacher, you know a little bit more about it than you may should, you know? And
uh-huh.
so it's like there's things, and maybe you heard a conversation you shouldn't have heard.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the religion and I mean, honestly, some of the worst people in the world are very religious people. But
Claiming to be anyway.
yeah, I try not to. That's not my vibe. No.
Yeah.
So
So do
yeah,
you attend church, or do you read the Bible, or do you feel more like culturally Christian at this point in like, or some other progressive way of holding it?
I go to church with my family, and I try to do devotions. But I'm with you. Like I'm with you. Like I think your stepdad, pretty wise man, because that's honestly the closed mindedness of things is try to keep an open mind and discover what works for you. I'm not a big like shove it down your throat guy. I don't think that's the way at all. I feel like example is the way. You lead by example, and yeah, but yeah, that's a big part of my life. It's funny how this evolved into that. I didn't foresee that happening at all, but it's all good.
No, I think it's good, and I think man, my favorite people usually are devoted to something, right? And I think most people are one way or another. Whether like I forget who said it, but like everybody, there was somebody smart. He says everybody's religious. Like it's just what you're religious to. Like, are you serving,
Mm-hmm.
this? And Christians are good at kind of pointing that out oftentimes. And I think the archetype of Jesus is incredible, because if you can kind of reduce and study very distinctly what it seems like was his example, or what the example that was portrayed in the Gospels, I think if you study that and you really listen and not so much take like the mainstream, mega church pastors thing. I think if you find it and you find your own way into it, then there's something there. There's really something there, and it's beautiful. And I really identify with that path. It's the biblical literalists that kind of claim to have the final word on things. That's where I start to go, I'm out, I'm out.
Right.
That's where, but
No,
that's,
that's not. No, I get what you're saying 100%. I'm with you. I'm with the other path.
yeah,
You know, so that's kind of where I resonate with it. But
that's
it took
cool.
me a while to to come back to this. Like for a long time, I did everything I could to avoid it, to be honest with you.
That's fair.
So,
Well, and there's probably a level of, I mean, I find it when I studied Hinduism and Buddhism, mostly Hinduism though, and a little bit of Islam, is like when someone devotes themselves in such a way and humbles themselves, and it starts to readily admit their shortcomings, man, in my estimation, it almost doesn't matter too much like what the deity or what the avatar
right.
is, because it's a universal thing. And if we're gonna agree that Jesus was pointing at a universal energy that which I believe he was, and it is pointing at, I think they're all kind of pointing at the same things ish, across the board. That look, there's going to be suffering, and there's ways out of it, and you need to buckle down and devote yourself to being a good person, upright individual in the world. And I think Buddha said that. I think Jesus said that. They had their own ways of saying that. The different times, different places, different immediacy of a crowd that was listening to them. Thankfully, what they said and did and how they lived their lives has echoed through the millennia, and we can still
Yep.
kind of gain from those wise words.
Absolutely. No, that's a great point. Yeah, they all had their way of saying it, but it's all relative. Yeah, deep,
I'll
Chris.
add one thing to that, not to beat it, but like one of the things. There's this Indian gentleman, Nish, on Instagram, friend of my friends, and he's very much Indian culture, Hindu culture, and there's on the surface a lot of different gods in India, but really they're all just considered to be different little aspects of the one true thing, right? And which is kind of nameless, which is kind of outside of our understanding, right? I mean, very much so. But he in one of his really good videos, he has these little blips where he's like, let me explain it to you again. Let me tell, like, this is, he's like, I want to explain it to you like this. A loving God is like a loving parent, right? That has multiple kids of different ages, and different, proclivities, different things that they prefer, right? Different preferences. And so the loving father or mother, looks at their 2-year-old daughter and knows that they don't eat peas. I'm not going to like have a bad night tonight. I want them to eat the food. So I'll make them a meal that they'll love. And my boy that's 9 years old, he's gonna eat the peas. He loves this. I'm gonna make the meal in a way that is like nourishing and can be received by them, because that's the perfect scenario. If you have the time and you as a parent, you want your child to be nourished and to be loved, to be seen, heard. And so he's like, I liken that to the God that we all are trying to merge with or to commune with. And that God, that original source energy, is so good. It's so ultimate that it will show itself to the Christian in the way of Jesus, in the way of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It will show itself in any way, any avatar that an Indian would like. It'll show up as Shiva. It'll show up as Brahman. It'll show up as Vishnu. It will show up as even nothingness to the atheist. Like that.
Wow.
Like it's so loving. It's so loving and so ready and willing to give you the thing that you need or that is going to work for you. That
Right.
like wherever you found yourself, like, good job. Like there you are. Devote yourself. Devote yourself. Move forward. Move deeper into the relating. And I was like, oh, mind blown. Like, thanks, Nish. Like that was like one of my favorite all-encompassing things. So anyway.
That's a really cool concept of kind of like, everybody's experiencing, in their own individual experience and kind of bringing it all together. That's a cool outlook for sure. Never heard that before.
I had neither.
But man, usually you find yourself navigating that when you're in a broken state,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something that I'm guilty of for sure. Is like I always navigate to it when I'm broken or going through something, like asking for something, and looking at it from the father's standpoint, like if your kid only comes around when he wants a, boy or whatever. It's like, man, gotta put some work in day to day.
That's the prodigal son, though, right? Do you know that? Are you familiar with the prodigal son kind of story, right, in the Bible, where the son leaves and he's gone and he kind of goes his
Oh,
own
yeah.
way, right? And then,
And then he
but when he
comes
comes
back,
back,
and then
he was like, "You're always my son. I was always,
right.
it was always been.
As,
We're good, you know."
yeah, that whole story where he's like looking at the pig slop, and he's like, I think I, but then he goes back and he opens it, with open arms. That's a cool story.
It is,
Definitely.
yeah. And so
Absolutely.
it's which I think is what we envision as the ultimate substrate. Like, if there is, if there's something ultimate there, I don't believe that it's here to punish me unnecessarily. That's the part where I, kind of differentiate from Christianity too. It's like, I don't believe that we were born in sin. I don't believe in original sin. I look at children, I'm going, no way, not a chance. Sin, beautiful, perfection. And we learn to be nasty more so than not. We learned the other
Yeah,
things.
absolutely. No, I can totally see that for sure. Loved
Well,
it.
thanks, man. I appreciate you taking the time today. I would ask you to close it out here, and maybe you have some inspirational wisdoms or any advices for younger people that are, getting started or just trying to find their way in the world of making music and releasing it. Based on your experience, what would you tell somebody that's maybe at an impasse?
Failure is necessary. So failure is necessary. Just because you can't achieve what you want to do not stop, and don't give up heart. Heart is important. Heart's probably something that a lot of musicians practice. A lot of musicians do not practice, right? You get in the monotony of it all, but you lose heart. And heart is probably the most important part of all these bands and all these artists that we listen to, that we love their story and we love the way it feels. That's heart. That's what that is. It's heart. It's passion. And you get passion by failing over and over again. And then when you achieve it, that's where passion comes into play and heart comes into play. So to me, that's probably the most crucial. And then just practice, and yeah, don't worry about failing, because you're going to fail. Everybody we listen to, everybody you look up to, they all sucked at one point. So yeah, it's okay to suck.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Well, I love that. Thank you for offering that. And it's one of the things that had come up recently in a podcast I was watching about movement teachers. This teacher, Ido Portal, he was trying to impart to these other bodybuilder guys. Like, he says, what do you feel on the way to strength? Weakness. It's like, what do you feel on the way to your smart wisdom, highest self? You feel dumb and unable to, like, so if you're feeling into a space that feels like weak or unstable, wow, good job, because you're like onto something, right? You're moving through it.
It's
And
growth. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's also an important part right there, is like anytime you're going through something that feels just like so difficult, like you don't know how to do it, it's so difficult, that's something you should appreciate, because that's growth, right? And that's also, I mean, it's frustrating for a lot of young guys. I was frustrated with it, but now I look back, that's all growth, right? Growth mentally, spiritually, yeah, physically, it's growth. So definitely, yeah, to appreciate those times as well. I mean, everything I just said, that's all part of growth, really. It's just like going through these things the failure, and like learning, like a lot of this, like the software, all of the technology advancements, that's stuff, like I know some of it. I'm nowhere near as good as Josh on the DAW. Josh
Sure.
can whip Cubase like hard, but like even at my age, I'm still learning it, and I invest my time into that, and it's like uncomfortable, but it's growth. Yeah,
That's great. Yeah, push into the uncomfortability and let yourself learn something.
that's right.
Man, thanks so much, Layne. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man, I loved it, Chris, and I think this is the first time you saw my face. We've talked a lot on the phone.
I've seen your
And I was like, man,
photos. I've seen your photos though
yeah.
plenty of times.
I was like, man, it's like, you got to get to know me, Chris. I'm pretty laid back. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've always felt the vibe with you, and I mean, it's that's why it's actually very cool for us to do this kind of at this point, because we've already gone through our own little growth too, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like, there's always But this is another little thing about that was that Ito is always like anticipate the interruption to the smooth sailing, right? Like, there's no possibility that it's going to be all smooth sailing. You're not going to get to a level up point and it's never going to dip back down. You're going to have interruption of all kinds from all directions. And so we
100%.
become better movers, better anticipators, better, at navigating like kind of uncertainty and spontaneousness in the world. And then we end up like being much better off for all the reasons. And we don't hold on in negative ways, I think, because of that.
No, not at all, man. Not at all. Like I already knew a good bit about who Chrys was before Chrys knew who Layne was. You have a lot of cheerleaders, whether you know it or not. There's a lot of guys out there who think a lot of you that I think a lot of, So Zaretti
Love
being
Jesse.
one of them.
Big one.
Me and Zaretti go way back. I like that. Zaretti's one of those guys you can always call him and he's going to give you, like, he's going to really put effort into giving you a response or an answer to something. You know what I mean?
Bro, beyond.
Great sounding board. Like, dude, like in the detail, like that he goes into with it, it's just like, yeah, loves Zaretti. But
Yeah.
he's always told me so much about you, and I was like, man, I just got to get to know Chrys, and then he'll get to know me, and then we'll be good. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is, man. I'm so thankful for that. He's connected a lot of really cool people to me, and yeah, man, there's very few people that you bring an idea to Jesse, and if he gets excited about it, like within a day or two, he's gonna have like a full outline with photos and like,
Dude,
it's not for public consumption. It's just for you for him to communicate
Yeah.
effectively to you. I love it, dude.
Yeah. Like he had like 3 points in a conversation, and then you wake up at 3 a.m. and you wake up, and then at 3 a.m. he wrote this like synopsis of like all of his points and the details of why, and I love it.
Yes.
Zaretti researches everything too. Like I always notice, like Zaretti always has the coolest. Like if he has like this device, you're like, dude. Now, if I would have looked that up on Amazon, I would have got this one. But like, you went beyond. I could tell that you went beyond with
Yes.
the research of just this like little case for your headphones. Like you just got this little case for your headphones, but it's different. It's different than anybody else's case. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, man.
Well, hey, man, thanks a lot. I'm going to wrap it up here, but I hope you have a great rest of your day with your family. Thanks again for all the time and the stories, really great stories. And
Yeah, man.
we'll be in touch, man. Enjoy that brand new guitar that you haven't even been able to plug in yet.
Yeah, no, man. I'm so stoked to play it. I'm so excited. Appreciate you, Chrys. Thank you for having me on.
You got it, Layne. I'll talk to you real soon, okay?
All right, man. Bye.
Take it easy, brother.
Players Pick Podcast. Picks and perspective with Chrys Johnson. Perfect. Pathetic.